going to invite people on the outside to come in and get into the conversation, right? So if you're interested in, when I say, are there anyone else who'd like to join, just raise your hand and I'll have you tap somebody else out, and we can have conversations inside, okay? The last couple of things, as Isaiah said, please respect each other. We should definitely disagree with each other on ideas. And it is quite fine to disagree with people, right? We're not going to disrespect each other, okay? So there should be no personal attacks of ideas. Certainly disagree with no personal attacks of people, just differences of ideas, okay? The last thing, please, no clapping for different ideas. Just listen, right? The goal here is that this is not a debate. A debate is when there are two sides and you try to win. The goal here is a conversation, right? The goal here should be to hear what other people have to say, okay? As opposed to try to get my point across. If you just want to hear your point, just go into your own room and talk to yourself, right? The goal here is to hear other people's ideas, right? Okay. The goal should be to hear good ideas that I hadn't thought of before, or to understand why someone thinks about this topic differently than I do. That's what you should leave this room with. Okay. So without any further ado, then I'm just going to ask the guys at the fishbowl first to introduce Malik Fisher, Jonathan Logan, Ted Coulter, and Craig Porcia. Right? We'll start off with the most basic question. What do you think of Colin Kaepernick's decision to not stand for the national anthem at NFL football games? Who would like to start? Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm glad to see you all here today. So, as many as you know, I'm the regimental commander at Xavier High School. So that's one of the reasons why they asked me to talk today. And many military veterans do feel disaffected by this protest against the flag because they feel that it's been a symbol of the United States across the world of freedom, democracy, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, as far as Kaepernick's protest goes, I do support his right to protest. It goes with our First Amendment of the United States Constitution. And in the founding of our country, it's very important to recognize that we believe as Americans that citizens have the right to overthrow the government or change the government in any sort of way if they feel that they've been disaffected in such a way that they're not represented within the government. So it is a patriotic thing to do, to protest when you think something is wrong, and to stand up against what some may say government tyranny. However, as far as Mr. Kaepernick's protest goes, I do not support the protest, not based on his right whether or not to kneel or stand, on the basis of his argument. When asked about why Kaepernick protests the flag and the national anthem, he said, "I'm not going to stand up to show pride in a flag for a country that oppresses black people and people of color. To me, this is bigger than football, and it would be selfish on my part to look the other way. There are bodies in the street and people getting paid leave and getting away with murder." In this quote, you see he mentions bodies in the street and people getting paid leave and getting away with murder. This is a clear reference to police shootings against African Americans in the United States. I believe that the statistic on this is flawed, and therefore his argument is flawed. So, just to sum it up, I do support his right to protest. I think it's even right for him to protest that he believes in what he does. However, I don't agree with his argument. Thank you.
So I'm in support of Kaepernick, and for the simple fact that when you think about an NFL game, you think about the people in the stands, the hundreds of thousands of people. The one time that one person decided to take one knee during the anthem, out of the hundred thousands of people that's in the stadium, it sparked a conversation around the country, millions to speak about it, and what you see coming out of this situation is the tension that's coming out of it is just so negative towards him. He's been getting death threats, and that's exactly what he doesn't want to happen. He's peacefully protesting, and people are responding with violent threats, and I think that shows the problem that we have in the country as a whole. And one point that I also wanted to bring up about the kneeling and standing. Until 2009, the teams actually did not stand for the national anthem. They stayed in the locker room until the anthem was played and they ran out. In 2009, NFL teams and the NFL in itself began being paid subsidies by the U.S. Department of Defense. Between 2009 and I think 2013, they were paid around $5 million. And then the U.S. Coast Guard paid the NFL about $7 million between 2012 and 2015 to have the team stand up for the national anthems outside to show, to display patriotism. So it's basically they've been paid to show patriotism. I think if it's really genuine and it's really a sign of patriotism, they should be able to stand without being paid, but it didn't start until they were paid to do it. So I think it isn't even genuine in the first place. I respect the flag and I respect the anthem. I personally would not kneel at a stadium, but the stage that Kaepernick has is the perfect place for him to do it because he has the power, and we obviously see the power that he has because the whole country has been speaking about it.
I am in support of Colin Kaepernick's decision to take a knee for the national anthem. My reason for it is just that, as Ted mentioned, it's like we have, as a U.S. citizens, the right to protest against the government when we feel that, as U.S. citizens we're being oppressed by the system itself. As he has said in many times, it's like in his responses towards the situation, he's like explained many times that he's not trying to be negative towards the military because he has many people in his life that have served in the military. He just feels that as of right now, with the stage that he has, it's important that it is needed that he stands up for the people that are being attacked. It's like, how can he truly stand for a flag that in the anthem calls for the land of the free, home of the brave, and the anthem in the pledge that says that we are supposed to be together. However, you have these situations daily that have come up across these last couple of months, where you have unarmed black men being shot, and that's not a clear representation of this freedom that is being promoted. In AP right now, we are discussing the U.S. Revolution, and a big point that we are bringing up is from the perspective of Thomas Jefferson, who says that it is necessary for a revolt, for a revolution, to keep liberty and to keep to keep the perpetual ball of liberty going forward. For him to take this kneel is just him exercising his right. Is him exercising his right to continue. Is him exercising his right to keep this perpetual ball of freedom moving forward. He is making this stand against for people that are being oppressed, and I just feel that it is necessary for him to do so.
I'd just like to start by saying I have a high respect for Colin Kaepernick's decision to kneel. It's his right. It was definitely an honorable form of protest, but at the same time, I feel like it was dishonorable. I have a kind of a neutral stance on the matter because many members of the military, I have family who had served. I know the regiment here, work very close with them. It does disaffect them and kind of pushes them out of the discussion because you're no longer taking their point of view into consideration by disrespecting something that many of them had fought and died for. So that's one of my biggest issues with the protest. But I do respect it because in order to put his reputation on the line in such a way where he's been receiving death threats, like I said, he's become this topic of great conflict and tension. He must have had a reason to do it. He must have done it because he does care for the country. He does want to see things get better. I personally do not agree with his protest. Like I would not ever kneel excuse me, or sit during a national anthem or pledge, because my country is my country. But I understand that he did it because he wanted to raise awareness for issues that are prevalent in society today and really shouldn't be, considering all the racial tension and struggle we've gone through. At this point, it really makes you wonder, like, why is this still going on? It is quite upsetting. So I respect his decision. I appreciate his decision. I personally would not advocate it in the same way or perform it myself.
Would any of the four of you like to comment or respond to comments that folks have made? Thank you.
I'd just like to say, Malik, I definitely agree with you that it's really a problem that they were paid by the government to stand during the national anthem. Of course, it should always be a choice to express your opinion, and you shouldn't be paid to express your opinion. It seems like a major form of corruption to me that they would promote. They would choose to promote. They would choose to pay athletes to promote an event like this. So, thank you for that comment.
Okay. Other comments from the floor? Let me ask you one question then that maybe you could consider and comment on this. Many of you have spoken about Colin Kaepernick's right to free speech and to express himself the way he chooses. We all have that right. Are there also corresponding responsibilities that go along with that? And are there areas where we should limit our own free speech and our own free expression? So are there responsibilities, and should we limit ourselves? Your thoughts on that?
So, of course, whenever expressing your freedom of speech, it's always important to be well informed and to use multiple sources to gather information. That's why it's also great that you're all here today listening to different people. So, of course, stay well informed and make sure you're not just being emotional over the topic and gathering actual data.
Yeah, pretty much in line with what Ted is saying. It's like when you're making your opinion, when you're forming your perspective on it, make sure that you're well informed on the topic and make sure that your opinion comes from like well-proven things, because you can't make your claims just off of these loose ideas. I also feel that when it comes time to making this decision, just like understand where he's coming from, understand what it is that he's doing and why it is that he's doing it. It's like obviously everyone in the room right now doesn't like fully grasp the position and where he's coming from. But I feel like that's it's like you have to kind of like almost view things from his lens and see where he's coming from and why it is that he feels necessary to take this protest against the flag or against the anthem.
I believe that the restrictions on freedom of speech, I don't know if it should be a limit. I know everywhere in the country, people are able to share and demonstrate their freedom of beliefs and freedom of speech. I mean, you go some places down south, you see people waving Confederate flags, and they're allowed to. A lot of people don't support it. Probably a lot of people in this room I know do not support it. But people are able to wave these Confederate flags, which symbolizes, nothing about racism, but a movement that tried to overthrow our own government, and people are still able to wave the flag. But as soon as someone kneels, it's the biggest problem in the country than kneeling. So I think that.
I agree with Malik on many of those topics he just brought up. I believe that there shouldn't be a limit on free speech, however, because through free speech, that's how we articulate our beliefs. That's how we are able to represent every aspect of society. But there are definitely instances in which opinions or radical beliefs kind of play into this degradation of society. It really breaks down some of the ideas, like the Confederate flag. I mean, people can wave it, they can fly it, but I'm not sure if they understand what the implications of it are today because you do have to take into consideration everyone's opinions in society, because part of what makes a democracy is you are looking out for the best interests of the collective group rather than, you know, yourself. So in order to better society, in order to understand opinions and be able to get through these controversial topics such as kneeling during the national anthem, you have to understand each other. You have to be a unit. You have to be one. So I think that's of utmost importance.
Thank you, Greg. Would anyone like to engage in the conversation on that specific topic or the topic we started with? Anyone want to talk to this? Go ahead, talk to something. Go ahead. Okay.
Okay, so on the topic of free speech and the limit of free speech, I believe in something that I like to call smart regulation. I do not believe that we should be completely free, because that is going to lead to just sheer anarchy. Because if we were completely free, you would have, for certain, some people out in the streets with guns and knives stealing and killing people for fun, essentially. You basically have the purge going on. So a smart idea, in my opinion, would be to limit every sort of freedom that we have to a degree to avoid anarchy, to keep not uniformity, wrong word to my book, to keep control and to keep logic in the situation, because people will become very emotional and they will not think with their heads and they'll start thinking with their hearts, which isn't a bad thing, but in some cases that can lead to bad situations. So the Confederate flag, I believe, should be allowed to be owned and to be flown, but it should not be taken as a symbol of hate and separation, because in the situation of the Confederate flag being flown at military cemeteries, which is a very hot topic right now, you are flying those over the graves of fallen Confederate soldiers. They were fighting for their right of their land and to protect what was at the time their property. So that would be the same as saying that I cannot fight for my right to own a house. I am not advocating for slavery. I am not saying it was a right thing. I'm just saying that it was a fact of life at the time and that they wanted to defend that right that they had. And in this United States, we are allowed to defend every single right that we want. So I believe that we should be allowed to do that. However, the flag of ISIS, which has been flown and is actually able to be bought on the popular internet site eBay, unlike the Confederate flag, can be flown, as well as foreign flags such as the Pakistani flag and other foreign countries that we may or may not be in good relation with. That should be limited. I should not be allowed to hike up the flag of the Islamic State in my backyard for the sheer fact that I want to, because now I am putting a direct attack on this nation, because that state has declared war on this nation. I should not be able to fly the flag of North Korea. However, though, anything that has come from this country, I believe we should allow it to be kept in moderation.